The stars above Earth had always seemed silent. For centuries, humans had wondered if anyone was out there. They sent signals into space, built telescopes, and dreamed of visitors from beyond. Then, one day, the silence broke. It started with a sudden shift in space above Jupiter. A massive alien ship, shaped like a golden wing, appeared without warning. It was over 10 kilometers long and glowing with strange blue lights. The world watched in awe and fear. The ship sent one message, spoken in perfect English. "We are the Virexi Dominion. We come to speak with your leader." Panic followed. The United Terran Alliance Earth's united government acted fast. They chose their best man, Commander Elias Reese, to respond. A former war hero turned diplomat, Elias was calm, intelligent, and trusted by many. He was known not for his strength but for his will. The meeting was set to take place on the alien flagship, Shadra, which floated quietly in orbit. Elias wore a sharp black uniform with Earth's emblem on his chest. As his small shuttle docked with the Virexi ship, millions on Earth held their breath. Inside the ship, everything was enormous. The halls were tall and curved, covered in smooth metal and glowing patterns. Alien guards in silver armor stood along the sides, their eyes glowing yellow. None spoke. At the center of the ship was a throne room. It was quiet, bright, and cold. On a raised platform stood the Virexi ambassador Kellen of House Vetra. She was tall and elegant, with skin like polished silver and eyes that shimmered violet. Her long robes flowed like liquid light. She looked down at Elias with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Human, you stand before the voice of the Empress, ruler of over 10,000 worlds, guardian of the ancient path and the first light. Of the stars," she said, her voice calm and proud. "You have been given a great honor. Few species are even spoken to before their worlds are taken." Elias stood tall, not impressed. "Earth welcomes peace," he said simply. Kellen stepped forward slowly. "Peace? You are not here to speak. You are here to accept your place. All new species must show respect to the Dominion. A simple gesture will do. Kneel, bow your head, kiss my feet." The hall went silent. The alien guards did not move. Cameras recorded everything. Elias stared at her. He said nothing. Kellen tilted her head. "Is there a problem, human? Do you not understand the meaning of respect?" Elias took a single step forward. Then, without a word, he looked down at her feet and spat on the polished floor. Gasps echoed through the room. A guard reached for his weapon, but Kellen raised a hand to stop him. She stared at Elias, her face frozen in shock. Then, slowly, her smile disappeared. Her voice dropped low. "That was an act of war." Elias kept his voice calm. "No, that was an act of dignity." The silence grew heavier. The guards around him stood still, unsure whether to act. Elias turned and walked back toward his shuttle. No one stopped him. By the time he returned to Earth, the news had already spread. The Virexi had released the recording to all known systems. Other alien species watched with interest. Many believed Earth would be destroyed in days. Others, secretly, admired the boldness of the human. Some thought Elias was foolish. Others called him a hero. But no one could ignore what had happened. For the Virexi, pride was everything. To be insulted like this on record in public was not just rude. It was a challenge to their power. And the Dominion never backed down from a challenge. The Empress herself saw the footage. Her golden eyes narrowed. "Burn their sky," she said to her generals. "Let the humans learn the cost of defiance." Back on Earth, Elias stood before the United Terran Council. He was calm, even as the leaders argued. Some demanded his removal. Others wanted to surrender. But many stared at him with a strange sense of hope. He had done something no one else had dared. He refused to kneel. As the council debated, the stars above Earth began to change. New ships entered orbit, dark, silent, watching. A war had begun, not over resources, not over land, but over one simple truth. Humans bow to no one. The world had changed overnight. Commander Elias Reese had done something no human in history had done before. He had said no to a galactic empire. His act was simple. A single spit on the floor. Yet that simple act had shaken the stars. The Virexi Dominion, proud rulers of half the galaxy, had taken it as a personal insult. Their message came within hours: prepare for judgment. Across Earth, fear spread like a storm. News channels showed images of Virexi warships slowly moving toward Earth's orbit. The ships were large, dark, and shaped like wings. They floated silently above the planet like shadows waiting to fall. In a private meeting room under the United Terran Command Base, the top leaders of Earth argued loudly. The council hall was filled with voices: military, science, politics, all clashing. "We should apologize," one diplomat shouted. "We're not ready for this." "We surrender now," another said, "and maybe they'll spare our cities." "We can't fight them," said a scientist. "Their ships are faster, their weapons stronger." But Admiral Raina Park, head of Earth's defense forces, stood firm. Her voice cut through the noise. "They're not attacking because of one man. They're attacking because they think we're weak." All eyes turned to Elias. He sat at the end of the table, calm as always. He had removed his dress uniform and wore a simple black jacket, showing no rank. "Commander Reese," the president asked, "do you understand what your action has caused?" Elias nodded. "Yes. Would you do it again?" "Yes." The room went silent, then Admiral Park smiled. "Good," she said. "Because that's the kind of spirit we'll need." The Virexi's first attack was not on Earth, but on the Moon. A blast hit one of the mining colonies, destroying it in seconds. The explosion lit up the night sky, visible even from the surface of Earth. Hundreds died. The Virexi called it a warning. Earth had no choice now. It was war. The military was activated. Thousands of engineers worked day and night to prepare Earth's defense systems. Old warships were pulled out of storage. Satellites were upgraded with lasers and railguns. Even civilian ships were turned into fighters. Elias was placed back into command, this time over Earth's Special Operations Unit Spear Division. They were not the largest team, but they were the smartest and fastest. Their job was not to win through power, but through creativity. Hit them where they don't expect, Elias told his team. Make them feel doubt, make them fear us. Meanwhile, in the far reaches of the galaxy, not everyone in the Virexi Dominion agreed with the war on the royal world of Virex Prime. Some young nobles and scholars watched the video of Eleos's defiance over and over. They whispered in private groups. They asked questions that were once unthinkable. Why did the human not kneel? Why did he show respect for himself, even when facing death? Is that not strength? But such voices were still small. Most of the Virexi leaders saw humanity as nothing more than dust. In one dark hall of the palace, the Empress sat on her throne, watching the stars. Her golden robe shimmered under the light. "Let the humans resist," she said softly. "The more they struggle, the more glorious their fall." Back on Earth, the people watched and waited. But something had changed in them too. At first, they were afraid. But now, many were angry. Angry that their moon had been attacked. Angry that someone from another world had demanded their submission. Angry but proud. Across the world, murals of Elias were painted on walls. He became a symbol of strength, of courage, of dignity. People wore badges with the words, "We kneel to no one." Even schoolchildren began learning about the Virexi, asking their teachers, "Why do they think we are less?" In a strange way, the fear began to fade. Then Earth made its first move. Late one night, a small group of human ships appeared near one of the Virexi listening posts on the edge of the solar system. The post was unmanned, but filled with valuable tech. Elias's team hacked the systems, downloaded alien data, and destroyed the station with a hidden mine before disappearing into the dark. It was a small mission, but it sent a big message. Humanity would not sit and wait. The Virexi commanders were shocked. No newborn species had ever dared to strike back so soon. Their reports grew longer, their tempers shorter. "Do not underestimate the humans," one captain warned. "They are different." In the heart of Earth's defense base, Elias stood by a window. Looking out at the stars, he knew the worst was yet to come, but he also knew something else, something Deep in his bones, the Virexi had made a mistake. They thought humanity would break, but they had never met a species that learned to fast. United quickly and stood tall even when the sky was falling, the war had only just begun, and humanity was ready, high above the red clouds of Virex Prime. The palace tower stood like a glowing blade, reaching into the sky. Inside, the Empress of the Virexi Dominion sat quietly on her crystal throne. Her sharp golden eyes stared at the hologram before her, a still image of Commander Elias Reese standing tall. Moments after his act of defiance, a whisper moved through the room. It was not a sound, but a feeling, the tension of something changing. The Empress could feel it too. Not just in the stars, but within her own empire, the humans had surprised her. They had not begged for peace. They had not fallen apart. Instead, they had struck back quick, smart, and fearless. And worse, other species had noticed. On distant planets ruled by the Virexi, quiet talks had started. Some younger nobles and scientists questioned why the Dominion always forced others to kneel. They asked why one man's refusal had caused so much fear. One of these voices belonged to Arlen, a young Virexi scholar. He had once worked as an assistant to Ambassador Kellen, who now commanded a war fleet. Arlen had seen Earth's message seen Elias stand against his own leader without a weapon in hand. Something about that moment had stayed with him. Why is dignity treated as danger? He asked during a secret meeting. Why is pride only allowed for us? Others in the room nodded silently. It was dangerous to speak such thoughts aloud. The Dominion punished anyone who questioned its rule. But still, the question spread. And so, while Virexi ships moved toward Earth, a smaller battle had already begun, one inside the Dominion itself. Back on Earth, inside the United Terran Command Base, Elias and his team studied stolen Virexi data from the raid on the listening post. The files were large, written in alien language. But one thing stood out quickly. The Virexi ships used AI-guided navigation systems, all linked to a central signal source. If we can block or confuse that signal, said Dr. May Harrow, Earth's top cyber specialist, we can make their ships lose direction. Maybe even crash. Elias leaned forward. How much time do you need? Not much, she said. But we'll need to get closer, much closer than is safe, Elias nodded. Risk was part of the job now. The team began planning an ambush near Saturn's asteroid belt. It was the perfect place to hide. Thick rock fields, cold space, and radio silence made it hard for sensors to work. Spear Division moved quietly. They took a group of small, fast ships, each designed to look like space junk on enemy scanners. They hid among the floating rocks, waiting for the enemy fleet to pass. Soon it came. 5 Virexi warships moved into the solar system, heading toward Mars. They did not expect trouble. To them, humans were still younglings, small and weak. They didn't see the trap. Elias gave the signal. Small human ships launched silently from the rocks. They hit hard and fast, disabling one of the Virexi ships before the others even reacted. At the same time, Earth's team activated a signal jammer, blocking the Virexi ship's AI systems. The result was chaos. One warship spun out of control and hit an asteroid. Another fired its weapons blindly, hitting its own ally. The last ship escaped, but not without damage. It was humanity's first real victory in battle. News of the attack reached Virex Prime quickly. The Empress narrowed her eyes. Her silence was long and cold. This is no longer a lesson, she said. This is rebellion. She sent a message directly to Ambassador Kellen. Crush them. End this before the cracks grow. Kellen received the message on her flagship, Judgment Flame, just as repairs from the recent battle were being completed. Her pride burned hotter than ever. She still remembered Elias's defiance. She had been the one he humiliated. Now she would be the one to bring him to his knees. Prepare the full fleet, she ordered. We strike Earth directly. But not all followed her with full hearts. In the shadows of the Dominion, Auralin sent a quiet signal through a secure line. It reached Earth 2 days later. The message was short but powerful. Their eye will reset soon. You must move quickly. Also, not all of us wish to see you fall. Elias read it twice. Who sent this? asked Admiral Park. A friend, Elias replied. Or maybe a spark. In the silence of space, near the edge of Earth's moon, human ships gathered again. They didn't have the numbers. They didn't have the power, but they had heart. And in the Dominion, for the first time in 1,000 years, there were cracks, small now, but growing. Sometimes all it took was one crack to bring down a crown. The skies above Saturn were no longer calm. The ringed planet, once beautiful and silent, had become a war zone. Human ships, small and fast, circled the gas giant like wasps. Behind them, the ruins of a Virexi battleship floated, broken and burning. This was not supposed to happen. The Virexi had believed Earth would fall quickly. They thought humans would kneel, but now, the Dominion had lost 3 ships in 2 weeks, and Earth was still standing. Commander Elias Reese stood on the deck of the Dauntless, Earth's lead warship. The crew around him moved quickly, reading data and speaking through radios. Their faces were tired but focused. Status? Elias asked. Enemy fleet is gathering near Titan, said Captain Ruiz. They're preparing for a full strike. Elias nodded. Time? Less than 36 hours? Elias looked out the window. Saturn's rings sparkled beyond the glass. Somewhere out there, Ambassador Kellen was coming leading a fleet 10 times stronger than Earth's, and yet, Elias did not feel fear. Not now. Not anymore. We hold the line, he said. Far beyond Saturn. Kellen paced inside the command center of her warship. Judgment flame, her eyes were sharp and her voice colder than space. They dare resist, she said. They dare. When, she turned to her officers, we strike with everything. No mercy, no retreat. Her second-in-command, Captain Vale, stepped forward. With respect, Ambassador, some of our ships are damaged. The last battle cost us more than expected. Kellen's voice dropped low. And what will it cost us if we let this rebellion grow? Vale did not answer. He simply bowed his head. On Earth, the people watched and waited. Cities across the planet had been darkened to avoid detection. Children stayed underground in shelters. Factories worked day and night to build weapons, armor, drones, anything that could help, but more powerful than machines was the spirit of the people. They no longer feared the Virexi. In the streets, posters showed Elias standing tall, the words printed below. Dignity before defeat. From farmers to students, from pilots to engineers, the message was clear. We fight. Together. In orbit near Saturn, Earth's fleet began to prepare for its most dangerous battle yet. Spear Division launched again, this time with a plan more daring than ever. Their goal was not to destroy the enemy, but to confuse them. Dr. May Harrow had developed a system called Shadow Pulse. It could create false images on Virexi sensors, ghost ships that looked real but weren't. If we make them see a fleet twice our size, May explained, they'll split their forces. They'll waste time and firepower, Elias agreed. We just need them to doubt. The next morning, the Virexi fleet arrived. 20 warships moved into range, their hulls shining like blades. They formed a tight wall in front of Titan, ready to wipe Earth's ships from the sky. Kellen stood at the front of the bridge, confident. Begin advance, she ordered, but then something strange happened. Her sensors picked up more ships than expected, many more. Earth's fleet had grown. Dozens of ships now showed on screen, surrounding the Virexi like a trap. How is this possible? One officer asked. It's a trick, another said. Kellen narrowed her eyes. Fire on the closest one. A blast shot through the stars, hitting the ghost ship, but it passed right through. No fire. No damage. Just light. They're fakes, shouted the officer. Kellen slammed her fist against the console. They dare lie to us! But the damage was done. The Virexi ships hesitated, confused. Their formation broke. Some moved left. Others stopped to scan. That hesitation was all the humans needed. The real human ships shot forward from behind Saturn's rings, targeting the Virexi's weak points. Explosions lit up the sky as one enemy ship was taken out within seconds. Captain Ruiz smiled. They're off balance. Elias gave the next order. All ships push forward. For the next 3 hours the battle raged. Fire streaked across space. Ships spun, dodged, and collided. Drones zipped between hulls like angry insects. Earth's smaller ships danced through the enemy lines, too quick to catch. The humans took losses. Good people were lost. But they fought with everything they had. And slowly, piece by piece, the Virexi line began to fall. In the middle of the chaos, Elias's ship locked weapons on Judgment Flame. "This is it," said Captain Ruiz. Elias stared at the screen. There she was, Ambassador Kellen, the one who had demanded he kneel. He spoke through the open channel. "You told me to kiss your feet," he said. Kellen's face appeared on the screen, furious. "You will regret that insult, human." Elias shook his head. "You should have listened to what I didn't say." He pressed the button. A direct hit slammed into the Virexi flagship's side. It didn't destroy it, but it cracked the armor and, more importantly, cracked Kellen's pride. She screamed, "Fall back." But her voice had lost its power. Hours later, silence returned. The battlefield around Saturn was full of floating wreckage and fire. Both sides had taken losses, but the Virexi fleet had turned back. Earth had held the line, back on the Dauntless. Elias removed his headset. His shoulders ached, but his eyes were bright. "We won," Captain Ruiz whispered. "No," Elias said. "We showed them we could." Far away on Virex Prime, the Empress sat alone in her throne room. Another report. Another defeat. Another sign that the humans were not weak. She whispered to herself, not in anger, but in curiosity. "What are you, Earth?" The smoke of battle still floated across Saturn's orbit. Wreckage drifted silently, a quiet reminder of the price of resistance. But for the people of Earth, it was not a moment of sadness, it was a moment of pride. They had faced a power far greater than their own. And they had not broken, they had stood on the bridge of the Dauntless. Commander Elias Reese stared at the large screen showing the stars. His uniform was dusty, his eyes heavy from lack of sleep, but he remained standing tall. Around him his crew worked silently, checking damage, helping the injured, and counting losses. "How many did we lose?" he asked softly. Captain Ruiz answered, 17 ships, over 200 personnel. Elias nodded, pressing his lips together. Every loss was heavy. But it could have been far worse. And the Virexi? 5 warships destroyed. The rest retreated. Elias did not smile. He didn't need to. The silence between them spoke enough. Earth had done the impossible. Again. Far away on the royal world of Virex Prime. The mood was different inside. The grand hall of the Dominion Palace, the Empress sat in deep thought. Her advisors spoke quickly and nervously around her. "They tricked our systems. They knew our weaknesses. They had help from inside. Maybe other races are watching." But the Empress raised her hand. Silence followed. "We are not losing because they are strong," she said. "We are losing because we believe they were not." Her eyes drifted to a glowing screen showing the human commander. Elias Reese. He was not a king, not born of noble blood, not backed by 1,000 years of empire, but he had something that many of her own warriors lacked. She could see it in his eyes, and for the first time in centuries, she wondered, not with anger, but curiosity, could these humans be more than just another small species? In a quiet chamber on the edge of the city, the young scholar Arlen met with others in secret. These Virexi were not soldiers. They were thinkers, scientists, artists, historians, and they were asking dangerous questions. They outsmarted our ships. They united faster than we expected. They fight not just for survival, but for freedom. A Roland stood before them, holding a small data chip. It held recordings from human broadcasts, speeches, news, songs from Earth's people. "This is not just a war," he said. "It is a story of a species that refuses to bow." Many of the others nodded. "If we ignore them," Roland continued, "we repeat history's oldest mistake. We crush what we do not understand, and if we listen, then maybe we find something new." Back on Earth, the world was changing. Where fear once lived, hope had grown. Children in bunkers now wore paper stars on their shirts, each star a symbol of Saturn. Where humanity had stood its ground, artists painted great murals of spaceships and fire. of human hands holding the planet Earth. Poets wrote about dust that speaks louder than steel. And in classrooms, teachers shared a new lesson: respect yourself, even when others don't. Even on Mars, still under development, human miners planted a flag with Elias's words carved beneath, "We kneel to no one." In orbit, work continued. Dr. May Harrow and her tech team scanned the remains of the Virexi ships. Their goal was not just repair, but understanding. "We're learning fast," she told Elias. "Their technology is advanced, but not magic. We've already cracked part of their code. What's next?" he asked. "We build smarter, not bigger smarter." Elias smiled for the first time in days. That was the human way, but peace was still far away. New message arrived from the edge of the solar system. It came from a neutral trade ship. The message was simple, but heavy with warning. "The Virexi are regrouping. A larger fleet is coming, twice the size of the last." The bridge fell silent. Elias stood slowly. "They still think we'll break," he said. Captain Ruiz frowned. "Can we fight them again?" Elias nodded. "Yes, but not alone." Back in his private quarters, Elias opened the secret message from Orlin, the same young scholar who had helped them earlier. This time, the message was longer. It included technical files, images of Virexi politics, and one short sentence. "Not all crowns sit steady. There are those among us who watch and wait." Elias leaned back in his chair. Not all enemies wore armor. And not all allies were human. The war ahead would be harder, larger, more dangerous. But for the first time, there was a chance, a real chance, that Earth was not alone, not anymore. Out among the stars, deep in Virexi space, the dust of old empires stirred. Whispers moved from planet to planet. Stories of a species with short lives but strong hearts. Stories of a man who refused to kneel. Stories that could not be silenced. Space was quiet again, but it would not stay that way for long after. The battle near Saturn, Earth had gained something far greater than victory. It had gained attention. Across the galaxy, species who had once feared the Virexi dominion were now watching the humans closely. Some watched with hope, some watched with doubt, and the Virexi, they watched with growing frustration. Commander Elias Reese stood in the underground war room at the Terran Defense Headquarters. The room was built deep beneath Earth's surface, protected by layers of steel, stone, and energy shields. A giant map floated above the center table. Red dots showed the movement of Virexi fleets. Blue dots showed Earth's forces. One of the red clusters was moving fast straight toward the solar system. Admiral Park crossed her arms. "We estimate they'll arrive in 10 days. 30 ships. Possibly more?" Elias looked at the map. He did not flinch. "Any help coming?" She nodded. "One small support fleet from Jupiter Colony. Some reinforcements from Luna Base, but we're still outnumbered." "We've been outnumbered before," Elias said. "Numbers aren't everything." Admiral Park gave him a small smile. "No, but courage has its limits too." Elias turned to the others in the room. "Then we'll find those limits and push them back." Meanwhile, in deep Virexi space, a strange thing was happening. Messages were moving between secret channels, quiet, coded signals. Some came from scholars like Orolin. Others came from old captains, tired of endless war. A few even came from planets ruled by the Dominion but dreaming of change. One message appeared on dozens of hidden screens. The humans stood. "Maybe it's our turn next." A quiet wave began to rise, slow but sure. Back on Earth, Dr. May Harrow had a breakthrough. "We can now intercept their command signals," she told Elias. "It's not enough to control their ships, but we can confuse them. Delay them. Delay is good," Elias said. "Time is everything." She smiled. "That's not all. We've also upgraded the Shadow Pulse system. Now we can send out decoy messages too." "Fake orders?" She nodded. "Exactly. If they believe the wrong command, they'll make mistakes." Elias thought for a moment. "Good, let's make them doubt each other." On the 8th day, something unexpected happened. A small Virexi scout ship dropped out of hyperspace unarmed and sent a single message. It was directed at Elias Reese. He stood in the command center as the message played. A hologram appeared. It was Arlen. He looked nervous but calm. I send this not as a soldier, but as someone who still believes in truth, he said. There are those among us who do not wish to see Earth destroyed. You are not our enemy. You are the mirror we've long refused to face. The message ended with coordinates and 3 simple words. Look to Arundel. Captain Ruiz turned to Elias. What's Arundel? A Virexi colony, Elias said, far from their core systems. Mostly peaceful. Do you trust this? Elias paused. No, he said, but I believe it. A scout team was sent to Arundel. What they found changed everything. The colony was still under Virexi control, but something was different. No grand flags, no statues of the Empress. No forced kneeling. Instead, they found open squares filled with people. Virexi and other species talking, working, even laughing together, and one of the buildings had a mural painted on the wall. It showed a human standing tall, facing a shadow shaped like a crown. Beneath it, written in Virexi script, dignity before fear. Elias stood quietly as he viewed the image through the live feed. This is real, Captain Ruiz said. Elias nodded. Yes, and it's spreading. The next day, more messages arrived, one from a trader on the edge of Virexi space, one from a mining world tired of Dominion taxes. One from a forgotten moon where a group of engineers had secretly built their own defense drones. Each message shared the same idea. We do not kneel. We will not be silent. And then came the message that changed everything. A group of Virexi pilots, strained warriors, sent word that they had left the fleet. They would not take part in another attack on Earth. They had seen the truth. Your courage woke us up, they said. Now we will see how far we can go with our eyes open. In the war room, the stars on the map began to shift. Some red dots faded, some turned gray. Admiral Park stared. Is this real? It's happening, Elias said. Not just a fight, a change, but the main fleet is still coming. Yes, Elias said, and we'll meet them. Not just with guns, but with the truth. As Earth's ships prepared for the next battle, messages from across the galaxy filled the skies like stars. Stories. Songs. Words from free voices. From humans, from Virexi, from many others. All saying the same thing. The stars remember those who stand. The day began with silence, but it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence before a storm. The silence of a world that had chosen to stand. Above Earth, fleets were in position. The stars shimmered as the enemy approached. The largest Virexi force ever sent to a single system was now just hours away. Commander Elias Reese stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, staring at the live feed of the sky. All systems were green. His ship was ready. So were the others. Behind him stood people who had never fought in space before, engineers, technicians, miners who had trained for months just for this moment. Earth had given everything it had. Now they would see if it was enough. At the edge of the solar system, the Virexi fleet arrived like a dark cloud. 38 warships, thousands of fighters, carriers, bombers, a display of power designed to crush resistance in one swift attack. And at its center stood the flagship, Crown of Flame, commanded by none other than Ambassador Kellen. She stood tall on the command deck, armored and silent. Her golden eyes burned with determination. They resist again, her officer said. They have even more ships than before. She gave a cold smile. Let them gather, we will sweep them aside together. But something felt different. As the Virexi ships neared, they began picking up strange signals, not weapons, not codes. Voices. Thousands of them, a message repeated in many languages, from humans, from others, from former enemies. Today we stand for our right to exist. We fight not to conquer, but to live with dignity. We kneel to no one, not today, not ever. Kellen narrowed her eyes. Interference? No, the technician said. It's everywhere. It's a broadcast. From Earth, Luna Base, and beyond. Even some Virexi colonies are echoing it. Her fingers gripped the edge of her chair. Begin. Attack. She ordered. Earth's defense forces launched into motion. Fighter squadrons roared from Luna Base. Drone fleets lifted from Mars. From the asteroid belt came old mining rigs, now turned into warships, their sides painted with human symbols and slogans. The Dauntless led the main strike team. Elias Reese was at the front. "Target their central ships," he said. "Split them, confuse them." Dr. May Harrow in a control room below activated the upgraded Shadow Pulse. Illusions of extra ships blinked into space, causing the Virexi fleet to divide and scatter. Captain Ruiz watched the screen. "They're falling for it," Elias nodded. "Let them chase ghosts." The battle burned like fire across the stars. Explosions lit up Saturn's shadow. Missiles streaked past Jupiter's orbit. Fighters weaved through laser blasts, dodging death. With every turn, and then something new happened. Some Virexi ships didn't fire. Instead, they held position. A few even turned and left. Inside one of those ships, a young Virexi pilot named Tal whispered, "I will not destroy what I no longer fear." His ship joined the side of peace. And he was not alone. Ambassador Kellen watched her fleet lose shape. Her voice echoed across her command bridge. "Cowards, traitors, continue the strike." But her officers hesitated. "Ambassador," one said, "more ships are breaking away." "They're refusing to attack." Kellen slammed her hand on the console. "We are the Dominion. We do not back down." But then her screen blinked. A direct message appeared from Elias Reese. His face showed no anger. "Only calm strength. You told me to kiss your feet," he said. "But now even your own soldiers stand upright, not for me. Not for Earth, for themselves." Kellen's jaw tightened. "You call this unity?" she asked. "This is weakness, division, chaos." Elias shook his head. "No, this is freedom. It's louder than fear, stronger than any crown." She said nothing. She stared at the screen, and then she did something no one expected. She ended the attack. "All ships," she said, voice tight, "return to Virex Prime." The Virexi fleet turned. What was left of it. The great wave meant to destroy Earth was gone. On Earth, cheers filled every city, from New Delhi to Nairobi, from Tokyo to Toronto. People filled the streets. They waved flags, hugged strangers, played music loud enough to echo into the night. It was over. Not the war. Not yet. But the moment that would define history had arrived, the moment when humanity stood as equals, back in orbit. Elias watched the sky. The stars above him were quiet once more. Captain Ruiz stood beside him. "We did it." "No," Elias said. "We all did." Weeks later, a memorial was built on the moon. Simple, white stone. No statue, no weapon, only words. The day no one knelt, a tribute to all who stood for peace, for freedom, and for each other. People from many planets visited that site. Humans, Virexi, and others who now believed that even the smallest voice could shake the galaxy. The stars would remember, because on that day no one bowed. And everything changed.